How are we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here. Welcome back to another video. So when you step into the War Within and you start playing with your professions, you'll very quickly realise that there's a currency that you need more of and you never seem to have enough of it. And if you played in Dragonflight, you'll be relatively aware of this. We're talking about Artisan's Acuity. In Dragonflight, it was called Artisan's Metal. In the War Within, it's called Artisan's Acuity, but it functions in a similar fashion. This is a currency that you as a crafter have a small amount of access to. It's somewhat limited. You can't farm this indefinitely, but some of the things you're going to look to spend this on are things like your profession tools. There are some knowledge books that are going to be super useful to you progressing your professions, and in many cases it's the currency that is used at NPCs and vendors to actually purchase recipes directly. So we're going to need as much of this as we can get our hands on it. Today I want to talk about a way that you can use your alts to get more of this for your main character, meaning that the Artisan's Acuity you gain on your main character can be put towards bigger and better things. So let's say we are, for the sake of example, we are an enchanter and we are looking to get our profession tools in order. If we were to look at crafting these normally, you'll very quickly realize that they're quite expensive. My guide, for example, can help you with this process. It can tell you very quickly that if you are an enchanter and you're looking to get your profession tools, you as an enchanter yourself are responsible for making your tool, yet a jewel crafter is going to make your accessory and a tailor is going to make your other one. So you're going to need the assistance of somebody else in some way, shape or form. Once you know who makes your thing, let's say for example for the purpose of today we're looking at getting this enchanter's crystal. That's made by a jewel crafter. Now, I've got jewel crafting on this test character just so I don't have to jump between two, but we can, if we go into jewel crafting and we can scroll to that item, we can find the enchanter's crystal, and this is a very common pattern you will see. 300 Artisan's Acuity is needed to make one of these things. Now, if you are thinking about getting 2 profession accessories and a profession tool, quick maths dictates that that's 900 Artisan's Acuity you're going to need to get your hands on. If you spend 900 Artisan's Acuity on these, it means you may not have very much Artisan's Acuity to buy things like knowledge books and the other advantages that Artisan's Acuity can bring you. So, is there a way that we can use our alts? And the answer is yes, we can use our alts. Maybe those level 70 remix tunes that you've not had much use for so far. There is a way to use those to fund your main characters with their accessories, and we're going to talk about that in as much detail as we can today. So how do we do this then? Well, you are going to, firstly, number one thing you're going to need is an alt that doesn't have any professions, an alt that is level 70, and an alt that you are willing to donate their Artisan's Acuity to your main character. We are going to set that character up so that they are fully capable of crafting the item that you want. Then your main character will just simply place a personal order and your alt will fulfill it. There is the requirement with public orders that you provide all the materials, but that's not true with personal orders. If you place a personal order, even to your alt, anybody can provide the materials. So our alt is going to provide all the materials. Our alt is going to provide this 300 Artisan's Acuity. So we need to figure out how we can get that much on an alt relatively quickly. Now, unfortunately, 300 is not actually all that we need. We're actually going to need, in most cases, 450. You'll see I've already done the hard work. We tested this on stream today. I've already done the hard work. I'm going to tell you exactly how you go about doing it. 450 is needed because we're going to want 300 for crafting the tool or crafting the item in the first place. But secondly, more often than not, you are going to need to get the recipe on that alt as well. The recipes don't come free. The recipes aren't always taught by the trainers. You can often see where the recipe for the item comes from. This one, for example, comes from Lorendal in Dornogal, but it costs 150 additional Artisan's Acuity. This is why we actually need 450. Your mileage may vary with this, depending on what piece of gear you're looking to craft, depending on what profession it's for. The recipe itself, a lot of them do come from the quartermaster in Dornogal, but there are some others that come from other places. So make sure you do your little bit of research and you figure out exactly where you get the recipe, because that's also quite important. If, like for many items, it comes from Lorendal, he is in, let's see if we can show you on the map here. He's in Dornogal, the main capital city. You'll get very well familiarized with this place quite quickly. It's the new capital city. You speak to him and nearly 5 pages worth of goodies are available to you. There's no reputation with these, which is nice. You can come straight here whenever you've got the currency, and you can buy the recipes. There's no rep grind for these guys this time round. There's just the limitation of being able to have the currency to buy patterns in the first place. So you can buy your recipes in most cases from this dude. But how and where do we get this 450 artisan security from quickly? Well, the first thing you're going to do is, if you haven't already, you're going to speak to Roldira, and she's going to give you an introductory quest to crafting orders, which is going to reward you a little goodie bag. That little goodie bag, I think there's one of 3 goodie bags you can choose from. It's going to give you 200 artisan security straight away. Easy. That's a once per character bonus, but your alt can come and pick that little goodie bag up, get 200 artisan security really quick. So now we're only short 250 artisan security. Well, this is where we're going to do some gathering. You may have noticed on the side of my screen there's a big list. This is actually a week aura. There'll be a link to this week aura in the description. The same fantastic gentleman who built Craft Sim was kind enough to bash this up for us in about 20 minutes while we were on stream today. It never fails to amaze me just how smart these people are. But what this in essence does is going to track every single variation of new herb and new ore. And every time we collect one of these, it's going to give us a first gather bonus. That first gather bonus is worth, I believe if I remember correct, 3 artisan security. And there's enough items on this list that if we were to fly around and spend an hour or 2 doing some herbing and mining, we should be able to find most of these and gather probably an easy 200 artisan security. So you're going to need herbalism and mining. So we're not actually on our alt going to pick up the main profession yet. We're going to start by picking up herbalism and mining. Mining is located in the big green gems section of Dornogal. The mining trainer is just here, and the herbalism trainer is over the other side in this little cave here. Once you've picked up your 2 professions, you're ready to rock and roll. You can fly out and you can start doing some herbing and mining. If you are looking to find most of the herbs, most of the ore for the first time, you will need to go through all 4 of the zones. There are some node types and some herbs and some ore that are much easier to find in some zones than the other. So I recommend spend 20 minutes or so in each zone, fly around until you have sort of got most of these on the list ticked off. By that point, you should be pretty well stocked with artisan security. You should have also maybe found some of the weekly knowledge points that both herbalism and mining offer. You get 4 or 5 blue ones, and then there's an epic one that turns up. The epic one is always the last one you'll find for that week. But I think, if memory serves me right, it's about 7 or 8 knowledge points. And each of those knowledge points, when turned in, gives you 5 artisan security. So quite quickly, you should be able to get that 450. If you've done most of this list and you just can't find a few of them and you're not quite at 450, don't stress. There is a slightly easier, second option for you. Editor Manthieus here. During recording of the video, I entirely forgot to mention that you can actually go hand in a bunch of materials for both herbalism and mining. Both of those turn-ins are going to give you 3 knowledge points each, which when turned into artisan security is 15 apiece. That's worth a good 30 artisan security for you. That may be enough that you don't need to do the things I'm about to tell you about, but make sure you hand in those 2 quests and you should get an extra 30 on top of all of your first time finds. You can always go and pick up enchanting. There's a reason I had enchanting to begin with on this character for demonstration purposes, but enchanting, when you disenchant greens, there's a chance of gaining knowledge points. For some reason, enchanting is working very similar to a gathering profession. So you can disenchant some basic greens you might have found on your travels, or you could even head to the auction house and try and buy a few basic cheap greens if that is another option for you. Another option, in case you still haven't quite managed to get to that 450 mark, you can always pick up skinning. This is what I chose to do on stream just for testing purposes. I picked up skinning and did exactly the same. It functions the same as herbalism and mining. When you skin things, there's a chance to get your weekly knowledge points, and those knowledge points will turn into artisan security. Do a combination of these things and you should very quickly have that 450 artisan security, and you can drop whichever professions at that point you are using to gather artisan security in favor of picking up the one that makes the item. For our earlier example, it would have been jewel crafting, and from that point you could head over to the NPC, get your recipe. There might be some level requirements before you can craft it. It's usually 25, 30 for most of the profession tools. So you don't have to level up that alt and their profession entirely. Feel free, of course. Shameless promo once again. My Goblin Guide to the War Within has full leveling guides for all of the professions. I'm slowly but surely converting them into video format for here on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe for those. Check the link in the description down below if you're interested in my guide. But you should very quickly then be able to then get your character. It took me maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours to get the alt in a position where they could fill an order for the main character can then get their profession one of 3 pieces of profession gear done and dusted. Now, of course, by the end of this process, that alt is going to be in a weird, sticky situation. That alt is basically disposable in that regard, as you've used all of your artisan security to benefit your main character rather than benefiting them themselves. My suggestion in that scenario is maybe put that alt to bed for a little while, or if you are looking to utilize that alt long term, you could maybe pick up something like skinning. There is an option to go and kill a creature once a day with skinning. It doesn't require too many knowledge points to do. That's an option for that alt, and I'm sure in the future there'll be some others. But to reiterate, that alt is kind of considered disposable, and this is why my recommendation is maybe to do it on remix characters that were very quickly and easily leveled up to 70, and maybe a character that you're not too worried about using long term. That should hopefully, if you're willing to do that a few times, get you a bunch of materials to craft and sell, get you a bunch of your profession gear sorted for your main crafters, and put you in a really strong position to start crafting some of the best items in the game, and hopefully, you know, making a pretty penny by doing it. But let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section down below, boys and girls. Is this something you plan on doing? Do you have plenty of alts that you can designate for this purpose? Or might you use some of these alts to actually just sell that piece of gear to somebody else? Even, you know, I'm quite sure there'll be people out there that will spend 100, 200, 300,000 gold on a crafter doing this for them, because artisan security is going to be very valuable at the beginning. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, boys and girls. Consider subscribing if you're new around here. But I'll see you all next time. Have a good one. Peace.